So, why did I become a web designer, or why did I choose to be a web designer? Um, well, this is Victoria with the Peer Collective, and I am going to just talk a little bit about my decision to decide to design websites. Um, so, the main thing for me was I wanted to have a skill. Okay, I wanted to have a transferable skill. Um, and I'll go into a little bit about my journey and how I got started doing it, and how it was something that I guess I kind of always knew that I would do something similar to this. But when I really think about it, it really boiled down to me um just wanting to have a skill. So I have what most would probably call a decent job. I make decent money. Um, But my role, my title is exclusive to my company. So um, it's really hard to quantify what I do. It's a position that exists only within my company. I'm pretty sure that there is no one else. It's three of us in the role that I have in my company. And I don't think that there's anybody else in the country, honestly, that has this particular role in the way that we have it. They probably have a similar role, but not the same as what we do. It's pretty intense. It's a lot of work, and um, sometimes I don't feel fairly compensated for what I do, even though, like I said, I make decent money, but it's a lot of work that goes into my position. And if I I went on the interview or whatever, and I told someone what I did, that title would mean nothing to them because it doesn't exist anywhere but at the company that I currently work for. And so I thought about this not that long ago, and I said, I think I just really want a title. Like, I want to be able to say that I am this. This is my trade. This is what I do. And the web design thing just kind of fell into my lap, but many, many years ago. So I've always been totally interested in computers and computer programming of some sort. I mean, even when I was a little girl, my mother had found this like old computer at a thrift store. Ironically, the computer was called Vic, VIC. And so that just really made me want to have it even more because it was my name. And it was this old, like huge computer with the green and black screen, and it did nothing really. Like, it had these programs with it, and you could type in these programs, and all it did was it would be a program to like display a spaghetti recipe or display like the steps of how to boil water. But it did teach me how to, like, what coding was, because I literally would have to like type in this code in order for the screen to, like, for me to press a button and for the screen to give out this recipe of how to make spaghetti. And I used to go in the basement because the computer was in the basement in like our family room. And I would go down there almost every day and I would type this programming, and I would try and remember it. So it's just like programming now, or HTML or CSS or whatever, where if you miss a semicolon, or you put a quotation where it should be a single quotation, you put a double quotation and it won't work. It was the same principle. Like, if you put the wrong thing, it did not work. So I would challenge myself to try and remember what each section did so that I could kind of write the program without looking at the program in the book, but whatever. I mean, I was doing the same thing every day. And then when I went to high school, my high school, you actually had to, actually, my middle school and my high school, you had to select majors, if you will, and both times in middle school and in high school, my major was computer programming. So I was always into it, even though I went to school in the 90s, the early to mid 90s. There was no real internet, like there was no internet like we have now at all. And the way that technology is, of course, it was nothing like that back then. So my computer programming was nothing like what we have today. And even when I went to college, I remember taking a programming class. I took an HTML class, and it was like really tedious. And I think I just kind of gave up on it because it was so tedious. I didn't realize. I mean, I knew from like my computer back in the day, but I didn't realize it was as tedious as it was. And it just kind of lost my attention. And plus, I was in college, and I was just wanting to hang out and party and everything. And I really had no idea what I wanted to do. So fast forward to around, let me see, 2009 or 10. I was living in New Jersey. I'm from Michigan, but I was living in New Jersey. And I remember sitting at my desk at my job. I worked in benefit administration. And I was, well, when I moved to New Jersey, right before I moved, I lost my job in Michigan. Okay. And this was like right in 2000, at the beginning of 2009. So this was like that financial crisis of 2008. And I don't know if you guys remember, but they had that program, No Worker Left Behind. So I graduated from college. I had a degree. The No Worker Left Behind program was in place for people. You know, if you're unemployed, you can get a trade or you can go back to school and get a degree if you didn't have one. And I decided to go and become an esthetician. I was always into skincare and into makeup, and I wanted to be a makeup artist, I thought. So I already had a degree, so I couldn't use No Worker Left Behind to get a degree. So I used it in order to become an esthetician, and became an esthetician. And while I was in training for that, you have to like actually work on people. I realized I don't like touching people, and I mean, I didn't like touching people's faces. I didn't like giving back facials and like waxing. I didn't like it. I did not like touching people, but I love the knowledge that I gained. So I did get a lot of skincare knowledge. So I ended up moving to New Jersey. And while I was there, I started a skincare line, and well, just bath and body products. And one thing that I did was I used to always put my business on different directories. So I like spent so much time just searching, women directories, women owned business directories, skincare directories, all different types of business directories. And I mean, I just had my business listed on so many directories. It was crazy. And one day I was sitting at my desk and I was like, I wish there was a directory for Black owned businesses. Like, I don't understand why we don't have a directory for just Black owned businesses. And I want to make one. And my girl who sat behind me, Alexis, she was like, you should do it. You should do it. But I knew nothing about computers. I didn't know how to like make a website of a directory or anything like that. So ended up moving back to Michigan. I stopped my skincare line because I moved home with my mom and I did not have the space, right? So I was just working. I ended up working at Comcast. Oh Lord. Ended up working at Comcast in retention. And I just started dabbling around on the computer and figuring out how to try and create this website. So I was trying to do it with like links. It was a mess. It was just crazy. But then I stumbled up on WordPress. I don't know how I found it. It wasn't WordPress.com, it was WordPress.org with like the actual plugin. And I stumbled up on it, and then I started learning about WordPress and plugins and all of that. So I searched and I found a directory plugin, and I was like, oh my God, this is exactly what I was looking for, right? So I downloaded the plugin, set it up, didn't know anything about design principles or anything. I just knew what I wanted it to look like. And I just really kind of worked on that. And I just Googled everything that I needed to know about WordPress. Like, I don't know. Somehow I figured it out. And had like a launch for the directory. And it was like the bomb. Like, it turned out so good. My launch did here in Detroit. And I had an app. Like, it was really, really good for maybe about 3 months. And then I could not get people to sign up for it. I just could not get people to sign up for the directory. And it was very discouraging because I just knew that people were going to be as enthusiastic about it as I was, but it just wasn't the case. So I let that go. So, kept trying to dabble around on and learn things about WordPress, trying to learn more and more and more. And recently, your memories come up on Facebook. I had a memory from like 2011 or 12 that said, at the rate that I'm going, I will be a self-taught web designer. And it was like in January of that year, whichever one it was, 11 or 12, because it came up in my memories this year. And it was just crazy because this year was really when I kind of really kick-started the idea of me being a web designer. And the way that it came about, the pandemic hit, of course, and I took a coding boot camp. It was terrible. My teacher, the instructor, was awful. I mean, he was a nice guy, but he could not teach at all. And so I again lost interest because I did not have anybody trying to teach me. I didn't understand it. I thought you had to like code pages from scratch. It was a mess. So I'm sitting on the computer one day and this ad come on my Facebook for Elementor. And for those who are not web designers, Elementor is a page builder that you can use to build websites in WordPress. So I was like, So I watched a little video or the ad or whatever, and I was like, that's how people are building websites. Like, they are not coding these from scratch. Okay, so I buy Elementor. Like, I'm impulsive. So I buy a license to Elementor, install it on WordPress. Can't figure it out. Okay, the learning curve is ridiculous. Can't figure it out. Don't know what I'm doing. Nothing. I don't know anything. So again, give up. I let it go. I give it up. Don't do anything. It sits for years. One day, I decide to go in. I'm like, well, I'm going to try this again. I go back in my WordPress. I pull it up. Try it again. Kind of got it, but not quite. Okay. So because I'm looking, I'm searching on YouTube, trying to find, how do you do this in Elementor? How do you do that? Good old algorithm kicked in and started shooting me videos and presenting me with like, next, watch this next or whatever. And I stumbled across like videos on YouTube about how do you charge your web design customers for hosting, or how do you onboard a web design customer? And I was like, oh my God, I want to know this. Like, this is one of the things that kind of stopped me from doing it, because these like particulars and logistically, I didn't know how to do it. And I just ended up going down a rabbit hole. So because I was watching those videos and these are the things that I'm Googling, I get on Facebook one day and I presented with an ad for this guy named Josh Haw. And his ad was like, have a profitable 6-figure web design business that gives you freedom to work anywhere or something like that, right? So I'm like, what is this? So I go to his page and he got all these videos on how to be a web designer, like his process, like from beginning to end, and how to sell maintenance plans and SEO and design, how to be inspired by design. This is how you have a business. And I was like, OMG, like this it right here. This is the business stuff that I was looking for. And then once I found him, it just started I was being presented with so many things, and people talk about the algorithm, but for me, it helped, because if it wasn't for that, I would not have found all of these communities that I now belong to, and I would not have increased my skill level as quickly as I did without being presented with these ads. And that's when I started learning about that web design is not just about design, that you should really get into copywriting, and the words that's on the page matter, and where things are placed on the page, all of that stuff matters. And I started getting into all of like these particulars, and investing time and money into learning all of these things. And that's where I am now. Like, I did some people websites for free because I didn't have any experience or whatever. So I just was like, if I knew anybody that had a business, I'm like, I'll do your website. Let me do your website. And then once I did a couple, then I started charging people like a little bit. I didn't go too much. I would charge people a little bit to do their site, but it helped boost my confidence, because I was like, okay, I'm giving them a price and like they paying me, so that let me know that I was actually on the right path. But yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it. And I'm still learning, different techniques and things and how to like streamline my onboarding process. I'm, trying out different things, and now my whole thing is actually just getting comfortable with things like this, like me even having, doing this is not a real video because I'm not showing my face because it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I have on pajamas and I'm not, face ready or whatever. But this is a challenge for me to actually get on here and talk and think about actually uploading this to my YouTube channel, which actually, by the way, I have no videos on it right now at this moment because I just started it today. um, but me even getting to the point of forcing myself to like post things on social media, letting people know that I build websites, it's hard for me because I've gone through so many different things. Like I did the skincare thing, which I recently just started back up, which I'm about to close down because I'm getting ready to, I want to focus fully on the website and copywriting thing. But it just kind of make me feel like, are people going to take me serious? Are they going to think that I'm just jumping around trying to find something to do? But my passion, I'm finding, because I still think about my directory, which I kind of shifted it and I have like another software. And because I learned things about web design, I was able to design my directory website. It was beautiful and has great functionality now. But I'm so like, I really want to help small Black owned businesses in the city of Detroit, in and around the city of Detroit, which is why I have that directory. It's called supportblackdetroit.com. But I want to also do that with my web design, like and also my copywriting. Um, because I don't want this to come off the wrong way, but I'm tired of seeing our businesses be janky and not be together. And I want them to be together. I want our businesses and our websites and our content and our copy and our words to rival all of these other businesses that's out here. And I know it's possible. Now that I'm in all of these like web design communities and copywriting communities, I don't see any Black people. Like I might see one or two Black people like literally sprinkled in a community of like 5,000 people, or like you just don't see it. And you surely don't see any, like very rarely do you see Black women. So I'm just kind of like figuring out what it is that I want to do and how I want to, kind of work this web design thing. I definitely want to be in a position to where I can help Black owned businesses. I mean, I would like to start here within the Metro Detroit area, but just help our businesses look professional and be professional. And again, stand up against any one of these other businesses out here. I want us to have legitimate businesses and look legitimate. No more janky stuff. That's what I want. So that's kind of what motivated me to get into web design. I know this wasn't very succinct or, a good flow. I'm trying to make it under 20 minutes. But I'll talk more about this in future videos. I'll try and like break it down and give each sections, or maybe be a little more polished in my delivery. But like I said, I just wanted to do something to get it out there as a challenge to myself to be more content, like make myself do more content, right? So again, I'll talk about it some more, but this is a challenge to myself. So I am going to post this, even though it's not that polished. And I got this one little screenshot up from a PowerPoint video that I did, but I wanted to get this out there. If there's anybody, now I'm not going to sit up here and act like I'm a professional. Like, I'm not going to say that I'm not a professional, but or that I'm perfect. I am professional, but I'm not going to sit up here and try and act like I'm perfect or I'm an expert is what I'm trying to say. But if there's anyone that has been thinking about breaking into the web design industry and you are lost on how to do it, reach out to me, because I really want more of us to get into it, especially if you're in the Detroit area and you are a Black young lady and you are interested in it. Please reach out to me, because I really want to see more of us in this space, because we can do it. It's very doable, and it's a lot of work, but it's a lot easier than what a lot of people think. And if you have a somewhat of a technical mind, you can do it, and you can be really, really, really good at it. So I'm going to end it at that. Please, if anybody watches this, just comment below. Let me know that you watch it. And like I said, if you are trying to break into the web design industry, reach out to me. Let's talk. All right. Bye-bye.